Today's lesson is called Solving Equations with Decimals. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to solve an equation that involves decimals using the 4 different operations of math that we know. So we're going to go over the rules for transforming equations one more time. Please don't write it down. Remember, our goal. What is our goal? Our goal is to always isolate the variable. We have to get it on one side. So I need x all by itself. 2x is wrong. 3 minus x, wrong. X plus 4, wrong. X divided by 5, wrong. We need x all by itself. Then, we always have to perform the same operation on both sides. So, if we have our equal sign. If we're adding 2 on one side, you're not going to be subtracting 2 on the other. Wrong. If we are multiplying by 2 on one side, then we're multiplying by 2 on the other. If we are subtracting 3 on one side, we are subtracting 3 on the other. It's on both sides. You don't get to pick and choose. And remember, we always have to perform its opposite. So, make sure you remember your opposites. Opposite of addition is subtraction. Opposite of subtraction is addition. Opposite of multiplication, division. Oh, opposite of subtraction is addition, sorry. Opposite of division is multiplication. Know your opposites. We're going the opposite direction. Remember, I've told you, think about it. We are going to be doing PEMDAS, but opposite. We are going to be going backwards. Think we're going backwards. So in your notes, I need the title, solve each equation, and go and write down number 1. So first off for number 1, just a quick reminder. Remember, whenever you're adding or subtracting decimals, make sure you line up your decimals. So go ahead and put this in your notes right now. So once again, what's our goal? Our goal is to isolate our variable, get our x all by itself. But what's next to my x I don't want? This, we're adding 3.5 or positive 3.5. So how do I get rid of 3.5? I do the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 3.5 on one side, subtract 3.5 on the other. My 3.5s are going to cancel out. I'm left with just my x. Now I have to do some subtraction. So I line up my decimals. 9.7 minus 3.5. I subtract. I get 2.6. So x is going to equal to 6.2. That will be my answer. So don't forget, we have to line up those decimals. I'm going to take a look at example number 2. Once again, what I'm going to do, I'm going to isolate this variable. What's right next to it? This 5. I need to get rid of it. Now since this is 5 times a, what's the opposite of multiplication? It is division. So what do I need to divide by? If I take a look, I get a 5 right there. How do I get rid of that 5? By dividing by what? Dividing by 5. So we divide by 5 on one side, divide 5 on the other. My 5s are going to cancel out. I'm left with my a, so put my a equals now. How in the world am I going to divide this number? So I have 5 divided by 3.1. Make sure to bring up the decimal. Let's see. 5 can't go into 3, so that's 0. 5 go into 31 6 times, so I get 30. I get 1 there, so bring down to the 0. 0. 5 times 2 give me 10. So a is equal to 0.62. That will be my answer. Make sure don't lose your decimal. Now go write down example number 3. Now taking a look at number 3. Once again, my goal, get my variable by itself. But what's next to it? That negative 4. Now what's the opposite of a negative? It's going to be a positive. Now positive what? 4. So we add 4 to both sides. My 4's cancel out. I'm left with just my y, which I'm looking for now. How am I going to solve this? So I have 6.3 plus 4. Now 4 doesn't have a decimal, right? Where is my decimal? No idea. How do I make my decimal? Remember, I can put any whole number, put a decimal behind it, and I can add a 0 to it. Now I can add it up. Why can I add it up? Because I have lined up my decimals. So I get 3 plus 0 is 3, bring down my decimal, 6 plus 4 is 10, so I get 10.3 as my answer. Now I'll go write down number 4. So looking at number 4, once again, what's my goal? To get x all by itself. Now I have this pesky 2.1 underneath it. Since I'm dividing by 2.1, what's the opposite? I need to multiply by 2.1. So let's do some multiplication. So I multiply by 2.1 on one side. multiplied by 2.1 on the other. My 2.1s, they cancel out. I'm just left with my x. Now, I'm going to multiply this number. So I have 4.3 times 2.1, 3 and 4, 0, 6 and 8. So I get 903. But what did I forget? I forgot my decimals. I have to move it once, twice. Make my decimal once, twice. So my answer is actually 9.03. Be careful of your decimals. Be very aware of your decimals. Now, if you're doing number 5 at home, you should have gotten n is equal to 3.7, and for number 6, t is equal to 6.8. Now we're going to do number 7. Now if you're doing number 7 at home, you should have an x is equal to 34.56. And for number 8, if you've done it at home, you should have gotten t is equal to negative 5.625. Don't lose that negative. Why? Because they had a negative 18 right there. Now you need to write me a 2-sentence summary. What did you learn today? What do you remember about decimals? What's always our goal? How do we undo operations? Remember, if you do to one side, you must do to the other.